Welcome to the Overrated Experience podcast, your sports betting podcast for squares, beginners, and newbies to betting, or maybe you're just not that good. This is the spot to be. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. It's a late Thursday night on October 27th. We just finished watching the Thursday nighter, Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing to the Baltimore Ravens. I'll get to that in a second. But first, I'll let you know my pending wagers as I do the show. And I have a parlay going right now with the Vancouver Canucks and the Seattle Kraken of the NHL over 5.5 that I need. Currently 2-2 here in the second period. So I need a couple more goals. Plus, I have Golden State Miami over 212.5, which was a alternate total. That game looks like it's running its course. I feel good about that. This Canuck game, I don't know. We'll see what happens here, but looking for a few more goals. Also pending is, again, this Canuck game in Seattle over 5.5, where I got the first half of my parlay was Tampa Bay and Baltimore with an alternative total at 39.5. So here's my pending wagers as we go. So every time I talk to a bettor, there's always got to be a pending wager or just a recent wager that's finished. That's what makes us degenerates and why you're listening to this show. So welcome once again. What we'll talk about on this show is we'll just talk about a few news and notes around the sporting world, whether it be gambling, whether it be the sporting world of action and news and drama that normally goes on. And then we'll get into what we're looking forward to on the weekend for the week 8, I guess it is, of the NFL. And then briefly look at the World Series and some of the bets there and who might take home. And we got a pick in from Austin from Ajax. He's got a take on the World Series, so we'll let you know what he's taking. But we'll kick it off with some news and notes. And by the way, if you look at the podcast, each of the podcasts, as you look, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you're finding the podcast, I provide a timeline of the topics I'll be talking to. So I know that folks out there may not be interested in maybe some news and notes, but they may be more interested in what selections or some games we like to talk about going into the weekend for the NFL. And I'll put those timelines there so you can race to whatever suits your needs, whatever you feel you want to do. It's up to you. This is a podcast for the people. You are the people. And I bet that you probably want to take advantage of knowing what we're talking about at the time we're going to talk about it. So take a look at that, and that's for you. Also, hit us up on Twitter. You can find the Overrated Experience at Overrated Exper 2. That's Overrated EXPER 2. Love to hear your feedback. Oh, great. Canucks just scored 3-2. So I'm happy this podcast is going to be much happier than if it was 2-2 heading into the third period. So that's good news for the podcast. Also, Overrated Experience again, back in focus. At Overrated Exper 2 on Twitter. Want to hear from you. Get your thoughts on the show. Get your takes. I'll take your takes and try to bring it here on the show. If there's something interesting on there, please hit us up. So news and notes. Just as I stated, we're watching the NFL Thursday nighter, and a little better than most the Thursday nighters that we've experienced. A little higher scoring. Tampa Bay got out to a hot start, getting the first touchdown of the game. Leonard Fournette walks into the end zone and was able to put the Bucs ahead, and then Tampa Bay gives a 10-0 lead. My apologies. Baltimore kicked it off with a field goal, and then Tampa Bay took a 7-3 lead. Missed an opportunity, Tampa Bay did, to go up by 14-3, but hit a field goal. And then from there, the wheels fell off. The offense, I thought, was picking it up here in the first quarter. They were moving the ball, had a great drive. And then we kind of seen what happened against Carolina over the weekend. There's red flags galore here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady does not look good. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. To me, he's the GOAT, no question. I don't think that's a hot take in any way. He's the GOAT, but he's looking 45 years old right now. He's looking 45. He's short on passes, and I know the TV crews are trying to stand up for him. That he's got different receiving cores and all that sort of stuff. I don't buy it. He's got Evans. He's got Godwin's. He's made this work before. In New England, he had a turnstile of receivers and game plans and guys in and out of the lineup, and it's not working right now. Tonight, he was scrambling. Tom Brady was scrambling. This guy can't scramble. He's the best of all time. He sits in the pocket. He shifts around. He rifles the ball, short, long, out, whatever, and that's his game. What he's trying to, I can tell he's desperate. But at the same time, the division they play in is very weak, and they still lead the division, at least going into this weekend. So I would have one of those boring press conferences tonight talking about, just like they did in New England, let's go on to the next game, worrying about the next game. We're going to get better. Don't give anything, fuel to the fire. The reality is you're still in it. You have the ball's in your court to win that division. Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans. There's nothing there. Atlanta, you wouldn't have thought about it as probably the biggest threat. But just stay the course, win the division, get a home game, see what happens, go on a run. But panic in Tampa Bay for sure. Baltimore looks solid. I mean, we talked about they got a long rest now after this win. Lamar Jackson looked good. He threw the ball well. Andrews, though, tight end, go-to guy, had to leave the game, came back to the sideline in street clothes. That's something to watch out for, and a big impact to the Baltimore offense. But this Baltimore organization is just run very well. Coach Harbaugh is a great coach. He's got a great program. And Lamar Jackson, I think, is just heating up. I know he struggled a little bit, and he's playing for a lengthy contract that he's his own agent for. But solid game tonight. Ravens closed it out in fine fashion. Justin Tucker, your boy out there, he's not going to miss a 60-yard field goal or late 50 field goal. He's amazing. So that's the Ravens got a lot going on for them. They're a winning organization, and big win tonight for them. Other news and notes. Now, Aaron Rodgers came out today or yesterday, whatever it was. Aaron Rodgers, arguably on the Mount Rushmore of greatest quarterbacks of all time. You could argue on or off, whatever, who cares? But he's definitely sure of himself. I'm sure of him. He's fantastic. I've never seen a guy throw a ball like this. He throws it like a shortstop. He's a once-in-a-generational quarterback. But it's getting to the point where, after his comments today, he's kind of acting like Axl Rose in Guns N' Roses, where he's a drama queen, or they're just like I think he lives in a bubble where it's going to be a shock when he leaves and retires that, yes, he'll be Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he'll be a Super Bowl champion. Can't take that away from him. Yes, he'll be a Hall of Famer with this nice yellow jacket. But he's going to realize that nobody's going to care about what his thoughts are. Nobody's going to care what his stances are. It's because he has a short window to grab the public's attention. And I think he's a bit full of himself. And maybe that helps him. Maybe that's, when he came out of college, he was pissed off that the 49ers didn't pick him up first overall, and he dropped to Green Bay. And he had that famous line that they're going to regret they didn't take me. And they probably did. But, he's very sure of himself. But to go in yesterday and talk about his receiving core and talking about holding guys accountable, suggesting that playing time get taken away, and also other things, and like sometimes the truth hurts. Sorry, that's LaFleur's comment. I'll get to that in a second. So here's a quote from Aaron Rodgers. This is off the Score app, and I just want to give them credit. When you're struggling on offense, you've got to look at everything, the details, and there's been too many simple mental errors, Rodgers said after Wednesday's practice. And again, a quote from Rodgers. I'm not a robot up here. I think people in this society have a hard time hearing the truth sometimes, so I'm going to hold guys accountable. Wow, I needed to hear that. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers, for your insight on society. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your insight. I feel like Ricky Gervais in the Golden Globe, where if you haven't seen that, you got to watch that. Ripping the stars about when you come up and accept your little award, thank your God, move on. Nobody cares what your thoughts are about what's going on in the world. You can't relate. And Aaron Rodgers, you've turned into one of those guys. But absolutely horrible. What about, saying, hey, we have to step up. We got to do this. Last time I checked, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. And you've done this before where you've made had success with less than stellar talent on the field that the Packers organization fails to get you. So maybe focus your attention on that versus calling out your teammates
just brutal, terrible, and very, very poor, and very disappointed in Aaron Rodgers. And, wouldn't mind, it just horrible. So that's my take on Aaron Rodgers. Not too happy about it. But just going from there, the hate in the world of sports. I don't know if you've noticed, but, the NFL season right from the beginning, the end of the baseball season, the NHL season, for some reason it feels like the last 60 days or maybe 90 days, and maybe it's been around for longer, but I've just picked up on the hatred that is going on quickly, especially for guys like Aaron Judge, who came off a 62 home run season and, by the end of it was being booed at home because he didn't, light it up in the playoffs. I understand New York, but geez, man, starting to boo the guy after hitting 62 home runs. You got people jumping out of the stands to catch his, 60-second home run, and suddenly people have turned on him. I got a feeling he's done. He's gone in New York. I think the Yankees have messed up. He's, and you know what? I was the first guy to tell you that, people are afraid to take the pressure on, whether it be a Yankee, especially in Toronto for the Maple Leafs, people not signing here because you just don't want to have that responsibility and the attention and knowing who you are when you go to Walmart. So I think New York, the Yankees are looking like that, and I think Aaron Judge is gone. Like, I don't need this BS. See you later. Bye-bye. I can make my $300 million or whatever it is out in San Francisco. Maybe I'll go across and play for the Mets. I don't know. But I got a feeling he's going to be a San Francisco Giant or Dodger at some point, and he's going to make tons of money, probably have a better chance at a World Series, and he'll probably be happier for it. Like, why do I get ripped into and criticized to the extent it is in New York? And this goes for like how Russell Wilson having a terrible year, but how many people are just ripping him? If he was 6-0 or 7-0, whatever it is, he'd be like, put him on Mount Rushmore right now. But he is just being ripped apart because he signed a new contract, because he moved from Seattle. He wanted out. He said, "I want out of here," and he signed in Denver. And nobody's going to let go of the let's ride stuff. Now, the latest thing, if you've seen the memes, the trip to London they have for Sunday's game against Jacksonville, I guess he talked about how he was working out for 4 hours on the plane. Who's stupid enough to mention that, if that is really the case? And, the joke's going around, who the hell is up for a guy working out as you're trying to sleep, going across the ocean to get to London? Check out some of the memes online. They're pretty funny, of Russell Wilson trying to, stay in shape and try to get ready and actually start because he missed last week's game. So a lot of venom being spewed, and it's just the world of sport. Look at the teams. Lakers, oh my God, 0-4. You know what? Think about Russell Westbrook. Not even on my list here to talk about, but who is like ripped, like just ripped. Like, he is the sole reason why the Lakers are absolute trash. Like, Anthony Davis gets a pass. Like, how? Like, he's a superstar making superstar money, and like Charles Barkley says, he's street clothes. He's always injured. Last night, and they're lost to the Denver Nuggets, he's stopped and pulling at his back. He is like a nice car that you're driving, and you're pretending you don't hear the noise in the engine. You know it's going to break down. You just know you're going to be on the side of the highway, and that thing's going to start smoking. So let's prep. And hopefully Anthony Davis has a good tailor, because he's going to be in street clothes before you know it. And Lakers are going to be out of luck, and LeBron's going to have another wasted season. But that is what it is. So moving on, some news that I thought was interesting for you bettors out there, you NHL bettors, is that the same game parlays, which are taking the square world. I know that professionals look at it saying, yeah, you're just pretty much handing money to the books here. And you're right. It's not, the odds are not in your favor and not in our favor to use these same game parlays. This is not smart betting, but there's no arguing the entertainment value and the popularity of the same game parlay. And anybody you talk to is putting $10 on 55 bets on a game in the same game, or it's like a sale when they see the boost, they jump on it and put some money down. Hey, and some people win, but you're not going to win in the long term. The books are always win when it comes to that bet type. But again, for the action, why not go for it? So what stood out to me today is, and I can only see one site that has it. The NHL did not have same game parlay betting. It looks like Bet365 has introduced this, and I just tip my hat to Bet365 of leading the way. I know you're trying to look at it as a revenue stream, but hey, that's the way it goes. And you're the first to at least that I've seen. And FanDuel does not have this. So again, Bet365, for you listeners out there, need to looking at your different options. And if FanDuel or Sports Interaction or any other betting site has it that I'm not aware of, great. But if they don't, that just tells you that Bet365 continuously is the leader and probably should be your core betting app as you still want to have options and have multiple, but probably should be the core betting app that you have and predominantly use because of the features that they do have. So good for them. NHL, same game parlay. Glad it's here. So for you folks that like to make those bets. Also, some news out there in Canada. I talked about April 4th was a big date in Ontario here in Canada because that's when the betting world, where single game betting was regulated, and the Ontario government allowed single game betting to be provided by several popular sports books, such as Bet365, FanDuel, Sports Interaction, and other, the Score app, and tons of others have gotten licenses to do business in Ontario. And now it looks like as of November 3rd, the province of Saskatchewan out west is going to join the regulated world of sports gambling and sports gaming. Saskatchewan, as of November 3rd, will launch PlayNow.com, which will be the only avenue for sports gamblers in, at least regulated, that is, in Saskatchewan, which is unique because, like I talked about, Ontario has many, many, many options, and we got to take advantage of it. I'm wondering how Saskatchewan will feel by having that one option and one option only. But the interesting part is that, just looking at the story, I was looking on Global News. I'll give them credit for providing the story that, we had a member of the Saskatchewan Gaming Commission talk about current gaming sites in use are actually illegal. And that's a reference to those who are still using Bet365 and Sports Interaction because those sites have not been regulated by the province of Saskatchewan. So it's just funny how the world has changed where, hey, unless we offer it, it's illegal. So there are benefits to not being regulated. One being you have a little more flexibility, in your gaming. It's you probably have the ability to put a lot more amounts on there without restriction. It's probably geared toward the more professional type of gambler. And when you get regulated, the benefits there are suddenly payments are not a problem. You're not running to a post office or a convenience store to buy a vanilla MasterCard or do a money order or Western Union because you can't use your credit card and you can't use the easy ways you would normally make a payment. But with the regulation, because the government wants your tax money and they want the money, suddenly that credit card's no problem. And suddenly the Interact deposits are no problem and encouraged. And suddenly there's 55,000 commercials on TV, but they care about you and me, about how much money you're spending. Right. Sure. It's a great revenue stream. They now have control and will try to wipe out any other option that you, the consumer, will have. So there's pros, there's cons. So it's not all, all roses here. So just be aware of what we're getting into when it comes to regulated gaming, and that is maybe reduced options, but yet convenience to play your favorite sporting event. Well, that being said, moving on. So that's the gaming and sports news that I want to get into. But now we're going to dive into what we're looking forward to on week 8 of the NFL. And again, the NFL is the focal point for, between September and, February during the Super Bowl, and then hockey, baseball, and basketball, college basketball tend to then become more in focus. But we're going to keep our focus here. And we're going to kick it off on the Sunday night. I talked about Russell Wilson doing like squats or whatever the hell he's doing on whatever plane heading over to London, because they got the Denver Broncos take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 9:30 game, the kickoff, which honestly I wish they would have a 9:30 game every week. You're a degenerate, I'm a degenerate. Let's all become degenerates, and let's somehow write a letter or something to Roger Goodell. Just make it happen. Make that 9:30 a permanent thing. I'm okay with it. And this over-under is at 39.5, and I really not have confirmation if Russell Wilson's going to play or not. I got a feeling he's going to be playing. And the over-under is 39.5. And usually these London games have a little craziness to it. I think there's no home field advantage. These games kind of get wild. And I got to bank on the over. 39.5 I think is a good play. And or, teaser alert, also a teaser option to bring it down to 33.5 and then add it to 4 other games throughout the day. And again, for you folks, the teaser is a parlay option where you can reduce the spread or the over-under on each of the games in your favor by 6 points or different numbers based on how much money you want to spend. It's a little more complicated to explain. And it gives you an advantage, but you do have to win 4. And the teaser I'm talking about, it's a 4-game teaser parlay, 6 points towards your side of the line, whatever you're betting. Now we hit the 1 o'clock games, and we're looking at Carolina in Atlanta. Not a sexy game in any way. There's no way that anybody's going to watch this game. This is a red zone. Okay, the highlights on because something's happening. But I think there's value here. I think Carolina at at +4 I think it's recency bias where that game against Tampa Bay, I think it was Tampa Bay last week losing to Carolina versus Carolina really doing anything special to Tampa Bay. And Atlanta is a fighting team. They have, knocked off the 49ers. They did lose last week against the Bengals, but they are a team that I think can easily take care of Carolina. I think Mariota is running a great offense. -4, I would take Atlanta there, but also tease it down to a +2 and put that on my teaser card. Take Atlanta. Screw Carolina. Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't you wish you were in Vegas right now? Honestly, Vegas football season. Done it once. Amazing atmosphere. Done it twice, actually. Sorry. I just, that's how good Vegas is. You can't remember how many times you've been. If you've never been to Vegas, put it on your bucket list. Make sure it's during October or November or December, whenever it's NFL season and college football season. It's just so much going on. So many sports books to check. You go and play blackjack for a while, come back to the sports book. That if you're into gaming, gambling, that's the place to be. And if you haven't done it, cancel that Disney trip. Put somebody aside to go to Vegas. So Vegas right now is a 1.5 point favorite over New Orleans. Andy Dalton, it looks like he's going to start again. I don't see how Vegas loses to New Orleans. New Orleans is a kind of a tire fire right now, I think. And I think Vegas gets the job done. 1.5, but I think one of the best bets I see on here, even though New Orleans is great against the run, Josh Jacobs over 85.5 yards rushing. His last 3 games are, get this, 143 yards rushing, 154 yards rushing, 144 yards rushing. Even if he doesn't get it, you have to look at this. It's an obvious bet. You got to take it. He's on fire right now, and that means that they're feeding him the rock. And they're feeding the rock so they can open up the deep ball to Devontae Adams. And I think 85.5 is the steal. All right. Miami into Detroit. The Miami Dolphins. Tua survived last week after coming back from his concussion absence. take on the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, I said tire fire. This is like a double tire. I thought it was the stupidest thing. Double tire fire. Whatever. I don't care. They're trash. They're just trash. The Dan Campbell. I thought they would be a lovable loser where they would just scrap their way to covering spreads, but just barely losing to, as soon as I said that out of my mouth, they started getting blanked by the Patriots, couldn't stop Seattle, and lost in a shootout because their defense sucks. And then Dallas, Dak Prescott coming back, and they only score 6 points. They're done. I think right now the Detroit organization is already thinking beyond Dan Campbell. What do we do in our quarterback situation? Jared Goff is just not the guy. So see you later. The Detroit Lions as you see them today. Not happening. And actually what stands out to me is the Waddle, receiver for the Miami Dolphins, over 64.5 yards. He had over 100 last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I stood away from Tyreek Hill because I figured you probably got to go with one, Hill or Waddle. Right now, Waddle's got the hot hand, but you can't go wrong with either Hill. But I'm going to put my reputation on Waddle getting over 64.5 yards. He is on fire right now, so go with it. Go with the hot hand. Now on to Pittsburgh visiting Philadelphia. Pittsburgh against, arguably the best team in football right now. I don't think the best team in football, but top 3 for sure. Eagles minus 10.5. Do you really see Pittsburgh going into Philadelphia the way the Eagles are playing and the way they're playing on both sides of the ball and really putting up much of a fight? Like where do you see the Steelers putting up points? And I see the Eagles almost like a boxing match where they're going to win on points. They're going to keep, jab, 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 and maybe an uppercut here or there. And it's just they're going to put so much pressure that I think whether it be a 24-6 game, maybe it's not a 50-point game put out by the Eagles, but I see them just squeezing the Steelers and covering that 10.5 points. I hate doing 10.5 points and watching a game where I'm sitting there waiting for a team to cover 11 or more points or a higher spread, but everything's screaming here that I have no faith in the Steelers and full faith in the Eagles to shut the door. So go with it. Tennessee, Houston, again, not a game you're going to, sit down and crack a beer open and, turn off Red Zone. Let's watch the Titans take on Houston. I don't even care how good Tennessee is. They're a boring team to watch. Let's face it. And Houston's a mess. But I could see over 40.5 points, or at least teaser alert, 34.5 over. I do think, again, Houston will throw the ball. They'll turn the ball over. The points will go up. So I think 40.5 is a reasonable over-under. I think value there. And how, Tennessee at 2.5 right now. Does anybody see Houston beating Tennessee at the moment? Derrick Henry. Tannehill's just good enough to get it, to his, get the offense going. I just can't see Houston playing for 4 quarters, keeping up with the Tennessee Titans. And to be honest, the Houston Texans right now are focused on the trade deadline happening this Tuesday in the NFL. And Brandon Cooks, who's a very good receiver, has been traded by the Patriots, the Rams. Who else? I can't even think of who else right now. He will be traded by the Houston Texans. Who else are they going to trade? They're gunning for draft picks. So this is not their year, and their focus is not going to be on this game. And make the final. Tennessee more than Houston. That's simple as that. And 2.5 should be nothing. Here's another wild ride. The New York Football Giants take on the Seattle Seahawks. Come on, the Seahawks are a surprise. Geno Smith is establishing himself as a talent, but we've seen this many times before. So I'm not disrespecting Geno Smith in any way, but we have sat here many times over many years looking at quarterbacks in the first half of the season that are the big stories. And I remember Ryan Fitzpatrick stands out to me as the guy, whether it be in Buffalo, whether it be in Tampa. He had a little longer run in Miami, but it always fades. Is Geno Smith that guy? I don't know, but I'm not going to bet he is that guy now until he gets one full season under his belt. So let's see if he can get them into the playoffs. So I hope he does. It's a great story that Geno Smith did not get a shot, rookie, and did not get the leeway that other rookies that were drafted, first or second overall would. I think that's an accurate perception of his experience when he came with the Jets. But let's see a full season on his resume and go from there. Let's not get a little too ahead of ourselves because we've seen this many times before. But in this game, the football giants of New York, why the hell are we not riding them again? We walked into Jacksonville last week, plus 140. Why is there not value here of 140? What's telling you that the Seattle Seahawks are going to run over the Giants the way the Giants have been playing? The Giants have gone to London to beat the Packers. The Giants just went to Jacksonville to beat Jacksonville. They can do it on the road. They went to Tennessee at the start of the year, game 1, and beat Tennessee. The only time they looked horrible was that game against Dallas on the Monday Nighter, but I think they've cleaned that up. I think they know who they are, and I think they're worth it. They may not win this game, but there's value here, a value enough at plus 140 that you would throw a few coins on it. So Giants all day. That's if you're an action bettor and a square, drop it on the Giants. Now here's a car wreck. Washington takes on Indianapolis. Indianapolis, quote unquote, is sat Matt Ryan. And is it an injury? Is it a benching? Well, who cares? Matt Ryan is just not good enough anymore. He was good with the Atlanta Falcons, but have you ever seen a quarterback take so many sacks to almost feel like, I don't really want a field goal. He's offended by field goals. So he gets him out of field goal range in the worst possible scenarios, and that goes back to his Atlanta days. And it wasn't much better here in Indianapolis. But Indianapolis is scrambling right now. They're looking for a solution, and they have Sam Ellinger, into the game. Will start, former quarterback at Texas. Not much NFL experience, not a really superior arm in any way. So I don't know what you're going to get, but the value I think here, and I was looking at the props, and there's not many out there at the moment, but as I get closer to Sunday, you got to look at total interceptions, negative things on the field, because remember, we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts bringing in a backup quarterback, has very minimal NFL experience, and guess what? They're playing the Washington Commanders, that is not great at all. Heineke is a decent quarterback. I think puts him in a better position maybe than Wentz, but he's a bit of a gambler. So the same time he's in a drive where he makes a nice 35-yard toss down the field for a first down, he'll take that next play and scramble and throw a terrible interception or make a bad decision. So this is going to be a car wreck game. So look for a lot of negative situations, or look at if you're looking at Bet365, take a look at a lot of the interceptions, sacks, and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know what those are just yet, because I don't think it's fully populated, and we will probably get more options on Sunday. But that's just a little tidbit, a little taste of what to look for in that game. And it's not up now because I checked. If Sam Ellinger's passing yards pop up, rush to take the under. Nick Foles is backing Sam Ellinger up. How fast do you think that the Colts will go right to Nick Foles? I think immediate. I think very fast. And I do not think Sam the man is going to be really long for this game. So wait for Nick Foles. He's going to come in this game and take advantage of that line does creep up closer to Sunday. Big game. Aaron Rodgers visits the Buffalo Bills. Aaron Rodgers is an 11-point underdog. Green Bay's plus 425. Now, by 4 o'clock, most likely, you're either just torpedoed your bankroll because of the Sunday morning game that you don't normally account for, and or the 1 o'clock games where you just got probably pasted And you degenerates just like me will look at the big game and look what I can do in this game and how can I make my money back. And guess what the tasty line is? The tasty line is going to be that Green Bay plus 425. Now, Aaron Rodgers talked a lot of crap I talked about earlier, called out his team, so he better show up. They should lose against the Bills. They should. They should lose. But, you know, if you're looking at potentially value for an upset, you know, why not look at Green Bay? Can it get any worse? If you're going to bet a long shot, would you not want to take on Aaron Rodgers as possibly the guy? You know, he's a guy, it seems he wants that dramatic moment. And what better than facing Josh Allen right now after calling out his team? So if you're not going to take the 425, the plus 11 might be something to look at. And really, you know, what I should have done here is actually check the weather, because the weather is somehow deteriorating in Buffalo. It takes away what Josh Allen does best. I mean, he's going to be, I don't discount what he can do, but what I'm saying is that it takes away a lot of the deep balls and things like that will, Sunday 15 degrees, well, forget that. A little bit of rain. You know what? I'm still going to take a chance and take Green Bay on this one. For the sake of, I have a feeling I'll probably be crushed by at this point. I will be looking for desperate plays, and this is my desperate play. This is my pathetic, oh my God, Hail Mary, like let's chase. This is my chase game of the day, and that is the Green Bay Packers to win plus 425. I also like Aaron Rodgers passing yards over 242.5. I guess it's contradicting itself, but if the Packers are down, which, you know, remember I'm chasing, it's not a smart play, but I mean the smart play is that he's probably going to be losing and probably chasing yards, and over 242.5 seems like the right sensible play versus the I'm chasing and I'm desperate play and taking Green Bay at plus 425. So moving on to the Sunday nighter, actually moving on to the Bengals and Browns. Sorry, that is the Sunday night, the Green Bay Bills game. And it might be a little rainy, so yeah, never know. Bengals, Browns, no good. Bengals, without Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is out for a few weeks, bad hip. But I think the line going to -3 still does not reflect the weapons that the Bengals have. They're rolling right now. I don't see an issue with the Bengals walking into Cleveland and taking out the Browns. They put up a good fight against the Ravens, but Browns are deteriorating. They're done. Value there is on the Bengals. All right. So those are the Overrated Experiences football takes going into week 8 of the NFL. Also, I'd recommend if you have any thoughts on what I've talked about or your own picks you want to share, again, visit us on Twitter at Overrated Experience Expert, EXPER2, and drop your comments with your thoughts. And a couple other news and notes related to betting would be the World Series. It kicks off tomorrow, Friday. The Philadelphia Phillies and Bryce Harper take on the Houston cheating Astros for the World Series. And I say that because if you recall, Houston's World Series win was controversial because it was found out that they were, spying and knowing what pitches were coming and banging garbage cans, for various different pitches to give hitters a clue, and God knows what else they were doing. But at the end of the day, they've also gone back to the World Series multiple times. It's not like they've missed a beat, but they do need this World Series pretty bad. So looking at the series total, Houston is a -165, so obviously they're the favorite. But Austin from Ajax has chimed in, and he likes the Phillies. He likes the Phillies at +165 to win the series. He's caught up on the Bryce Harper bandwagon. Bryce Harper, on fire. Maybe not the most likable guy, unless you're inside Philadelphia. I think he's amazing, but hey, people don't like him. He left Washington, he went on to win the World Series, but I'm sure he's happy to be back, and he's going to put on a show. So we'll see what happens there. But +165 is the play from Austin from Ajax. Now, one interesting line to look at is the World Series MVP, and some choices here. The favorite is actually, it's not even Bryce Harper. He's plus 700. But Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros, and if you remember, he had that big home run against the Seattle Mariners in Game 1, to walk it off and really set the stage for them to advance against the Yankees. But he's favored at plus 650. But what about some value to look at? Why not Kyle Schwarber? When he's on fire, he's putting home runs in the 5th and 6th deck, and it's a good ballpark in Houston to hit at. So he might put it on a show and might be the man. He might be the man. So plus 1,400, there might be some value there to put a few dollars. But if you're looking on the Houston side, I think two guys that will probably provide good value are Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman is an underrated hitter. I think he's a guy that could dominate a series. I don't think he's overmatched by whatever pitcher the Phillies throw at him, whether it be Zach Wheeler or Aaron Nola. So he's a guy. He's a go-to guy, clutch guy, and could be an MVP at plus 1,200. But Jose Altuve, he's plus 1,400. He hits big home runs and could be the guy again. So there's value there. I think Kyle Schwarber's the value, to be honest. And Alex Bregman, if you're looking at Houston, might be the two guys you pick for either team that will provide some good income if it comes through. But that's my take on the World Series. Hopefully we got a good series there. I'm just trying to think of any other takes that I want to share today. I'm going to say no. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's my time. I'm going to wish you the best. And again, this is a fun podcast. No way am I steering you in one direction or another, or encouraging you to put your hand in your pocket, to grab that credit card, to invest anything at all. These are pure fun picks. And I hope you are part of the Overrated Experience community. Join us on Twitter. Get your feedback. This podcast is for us. I'm not taking the Aaron Rodgers approach here. This is for us, the Square Better, to make sure that we get the best value out there. We share the best ideas. We talk about the dumbass stories, the worst losses, the biggest wins, the flukes, and how we got jobbed. That's all what this is meant for. So thanks again for joining us this week. The Overrated Experience is over and out.